Imagine a Five Nights at Freddy's game where Secret of the Mimic had been ripped off by Russians. Another where FNaF 4 had been released earlier and looked way different. And also one that looks like Security Breach 2, beautiful with original characters. Thing is, you can't play any of them because they were never supposed to be released. At least most of them. So I have all their footage ready, each ordered to be crazier than the last. The last one being genuinely really personal and the only reason I made this video. You'll see. Let's start off by going back to 2015. Scott Cawthon had received bad reception in his latest installment and decided to make a final game, FNaF 4. So naturally, people made fan creations sharing their excitement prior to its release, like any FNaF game. But then, out of nowhere, the game dropped on the App Store 2 months before the release date. This not being presented as a fan game, but claiming to be the real thing. I mean, they were on the App Store, had reviews, and even a whole trailer that actually looks to have been stolen from someone else. Bro was even charging money, 3 times the usual cost for the games. I think it's suffice to say that this wasn't Scott Cawthon that published this, but rather someone going by the name Lazada Polodi, which apparently in my research seems to be like a freaking real creepypasta. This guy even made a horror story about him. They were treating bro like a literal demon.
Lazada Polodi.
Anyways, like this person tells us, the game actually fooled a lot of people. Had the actual FNaF 4 been leaked? Although the images showing the game looked like this, so I guess they must have thought Scott went crazy. Anyways, everything we knew about the game had only been rumors because, believe it or not, unlike the Russian FNaF ripoff I talked about before, Scott wasn't gonna let this slide and got lawyers up to Lazada Polodi, suing him, and the game had been taken down. However, someone actually played it and posted about it, and recently the game files have been uploaded to Internet Archive. So man, here's a proper recreation of what happened when you loaded FNaF 4 by Lazada Polodi. We start with this Greek phrase, which means, where is the hidden key to open the treasure in the difficult maze? I mean, that's gotta be the lore, right? The loading screen shows an upside down teaser of FNaF 2. Then the main menu is a picture of what is described as Pinkie Pie riding on Freddy. Okay. Pinkie Pie riding on Freddy Fazbear. What? The music starts with wind, a girl screaming, door creaking, footsteps, and like a ghost. The song does eventually evolve into actual piano music, just remixed with the other sounds. If you click the info button, we would get this incredibly stolen FNaF thumbnail. And quote, special thanks, customers and viewers, excerpts of the song Situ Huner, Sexy Love, sound effects and free icons. Basically the credits, but with no mention of Scott Cawthon. Going back and finally clicking play gives us, are you iPhone games fan? I don't know. No. Yes. Yes. Keep in mind this game was only the App Store and you could only click yes to continue. And then a bunch of other questions you could only click yes to. Looks to me to give you info on the game. You must fight zombies. Game character is male or female. Must you eat the square for energy? Do you like this game? Do you like it? And lastly, the affirmation is the kind of game action. We're thrown into gameplay as Freddy Fazbear in camera 1C from FNaF 1. We can move around and jump, having to dodge literally everything. Freaking Foxy, crows, moles, pumpkins, and more. We have 5 hearts, showing how many times we can get hit, and our battery support, acting as a time limit that drains incredibly fast. I think these were the squares for energy we were supposed to eat, but they don't work. Completing the level gives you Timothy Dialogue 1, which looks to be this person from the files. And the game crashes. But wait, this isn't it, because supposedly, like any Five Nights at Freddy's, if you press randomly at the screen 10 times, you get, you winner. You have opened all the stages, getting a new option saying continue. And they only allow you to click the last stage, where it's the same game, but now in a dungeon. Completing it, the screen fades to black, and we get, you win, made by DD Company. Showing probably the developer's actual username. This being important because not only did Scott sue Lazada, but also tried to get a freaking guy to go to court, filing a legal document where they were gonna dox him to find his location. No more information on what happened after that has been released, putting an end to this crazy scamming situation. But somehow, I managed to find something really similar that is somehow more insane. Welcome to Kandyland. I call this one Security Breach 2, and honestly, it earns the title. You've probably seen seen these animations that went viral in 2023 about these characters and this world, which exploded to be a whole NFT ecosystem. Which is why it was surprising that after all their backlash, they announced they were gonna make it its own game. If these animations look incredibly polished to you, it's probably because it's developed by Golden Lane Studios, the pioneers of the earliest FNaF animated series ever, with literally tens of millions of views combined. However, when their views started declining, they decided they had to evolve, and what better way than to make their own FNaF universe. FNaF fan content had been increasingly popular around this time, but they were gonna take off the restrictions, only claiming to be inspired by them. And wow, did it work! Even realizing that the animatronic Suzy Snacktime was getting them a lot of attention, seeming to make her the new face of the game instead of Candy, with titles like She's Not So Innocent. What? All while advertising their NFTs. Basically, you can buy these gifts of their animatronics in different colors for... What? Anyways, a couple months later, they announced Kandyland, the game, where we're back to an incredibly colorful theme park that apparently also makes candy, as it brought us a lot of joy as a child. But then we find ourselves trapped. The animatronics we've seen through the animation videos, Mr. Smiles, Candy, Suzy Snacktime, and Tuki, are hacked, doing everything they can to ensure you never want to leave. Oh no, I wonder what Suzy's gonna do. I'm sorry. Anyways, each having their own special gameplay ability to hunt you down. The trailer shown ends with the owner of Kandyland saying, "As my brother said, anything can be fixed with a smile," showing Mr. Smiles, presumably theorized that some sort of possession is also going on, and the brother that helped make the animatronics is now evil, incredibly similar to actual FNaF lore. But the thing is, with this trailer and the supposed game in general, is that if you notice, no real gameplay has been shown. I mean, sure, there are these cool corridor running scenes, but they're animations, like the rest of the trailer. Everything's animated, just like the videos they made before. And fast forward 2 years, and they've not said a single word about the game. However, they've recently been continuing the videos, and the NFTs are still up and going, making wonder if it's because it's taken a long time to make and they've wanted to keep it a secret, or that just whatever they're doing right now is getting them the money they need, not having to actually work on a game for attention. Either way, there is no current game, and no signs of there ever gonna be one. Trust me, this connects to somehow the craziest one yet that I'm sure you've all been waiting for. It all started when I was looking around in my YouTube homepage and I saw this video, and man was I impressed. A genuine FNaF game that looked incredible and exciting, played by Theft King, a FNaF YouTuber who I genuinely watched a lot of but hadn't seen in a while. Looking further, I found this other video where he plays FNaF 3 but free roam, and you could literally talk to the animatronics with AI.
Why is that unfortunate?
Because he's coming.
So I paused the videos and knew I also had to make the next Mr. Doggo upload on at least one of them, choosing the latter first. Knowing that Theft King had a reputation for getting exclusive content from various developers, it made sense when he said this one couldn't just be downloaded online. He had to really insist to the developer. So like any desperate dog, I managed to get this developer's contact, basically being like, "Hello, big fan of your work. Would love to check out your game for a video. I also have 5 bucks I can pay a friend." And then he responded with this gif. So I decided to speak his language, but it didn't really go according to plan. But I remember that Theft said he had to really insist to be let play it, until the guy said, "Dude, the game isn't real." I was shocked. And besides, even if this one wasn't truly stolen by Russians, he couldn't have faked the game. Like, I'm literally seeing the gameplay, right? And then I remembered what happened with Kandyland. Soon after, the developer unblocked me, and Theft King released this upload. In the video, Theft King shows how he faked every game he played. But before I get into that, let me tell you what happens in this secret of Mimic that somehow fooled me and others. Full credit to Theft King for the full video too. We play as Victor, a Russian fellow that comes to a building to discover the secret of Mimic, where we team up with Helpy, a spy that has our same goal, and freaking Jackie explodes to the door and we run from her, having to hide like in the actual game, losing her. We then find Bam Bam before Helpy kills him, thinking it's actually the Mimic impersonating him. It's not. Helpy's boss and uncle, Freddy, calls him to tell him that Bam Bam has important info for his mission. And then he sends Rambly over to give us a ride, where we run over the Mimic as the whole building explodes. Jackie going after us in a car chase. This goes on until a helicopter shoots a bomb to a bunch of kids and us, where we end up landing in an alleyway with no signs of Rambly. We struggle to find him until we realize he's in a recycling bin. Before leaving and going back to Helpy's HQ, our player decides to go check the trash for whatever reason, finding Rambly's deceased corpse in there. We look back amazed to quote-unquote Rambly until realizing he was Mimic all along. And before she can continue chasing us, Helpy somehow called in Catnap to fight her off. However, they explode again, sending us all the way to a mall. We find Poppy until she gets confused as a Mimic, and we regroup with Helpy, Bendy, and Julian, finding that Catnap is also here, but being set on fire. Having to obviously tell the news to his friend Dog Day, we go to the Poppy Playtime store, and after blaming Bendy for Catnap's death, Dog Day asks Julian how there can be two of them at the same time. After running away, Corey Kenshin somehow appears and fights Jackie, ultimately being able to kill him with his power. We go back to HQ to tell Helpy's boss, Freddy, about the successful mission. He congratulates us until he tells us we can't leave this place anymore because he's been the freaking Mimic. Being chased into a corner, Helpy's final wish to know what the secret of the Mimic was.
I have penis.
The end. So this incredibly well made video, much as the AI one, turns out is an animation inside of the game studio Unreal Engine, being programmed for a player to move around. Theft saves the player animation for moving and looking around, adding only the characters, animations and stuff later, reacting to that on a tight script. It's great that he made a video explaining the AI game being fake and just for fun, but honestly, I kinda wish he made it clear from the start, especially for those younger in the community or people like me. Anyways, if you want to see a real FNaF Russian ripoff I played, go watch this video. Thank you so much for watching. We have a Patreon and a Discord. I love you, Gurt.